Hey guys, Juan here. Today I want to talk to you about three of the most common problems that I see with KPIs. KPI is short for Key Performance Indicator and is generally a number that organizations use to see if they are on track. Some examples of KPIs are the amount of sales in dollars, in euros, in whatever. It can be the profit ratio, it can be the retention of a client, it can be the NPS, and in general, it is up to every organization to decide what are their KPIs. But hear me out, when you're first starting either building or working in a company that uses KPIs, there are three things that you should know. The first one is it is impossible slash unfair. And yeah, it might even wonder if you should really attempt to capture every single thing that is going well of your business into some numbers. It's like one of my professors of university used to say, and that is, you cannot capture the sensation of driving a motorcycle in kilometers per hour. It feels like it doesn't truly make justice to your experience. So a lot of times KPIs are not going to capture the whole thing. You're going to miss out on some parts that are essential to your business. And the solution is not thinking deeper, because that's just the way that it is. You're going to miss out some important things. The second thing you should know about KPIs is they generally hide a lot of complexity. And sometimes it comes as a surprise to everybody. Let me give you an example. Let's take the easiest KPI you can imagine. That is sales in dollars or euros or whatever your currency is. Now, as an analyst, you might simply just sum of every single sale, and then that's that. But when you start thinking about it, you realize shall we include the products that were indeed sold, but they were returned within a week? Do we also include the products that were purchased by an employee at a discounted rate? Do we include the prototypes that were sent to the stores to have on display? Those are technically not sales. What exactly is it that you filter out, and what exactly is it that you keep? And what you're going to notice is, no matter how simple the KPI looks, everybody might have very different ideas of what it should entail or not. And we're talking about sales. Sometimes KPIs get much more complex, like churn, to see if a client has indeed left you and is not going to come back as a client. What happens when you say, okay, if somebody hasn't come in 3 months, it's just a churn and we just lost a client. But what happens if somebody organizes an event every year, and for that one event every year, they do come back as clients? The fact that they haven't come back within 3 months is not because they gave up on you, but because, well, they don't need to for whatever reason. Do you also should include the opening time of your clients into the definition of your KPI? There is no good answer. The point is, even in something that looks deceivingly simple, there might be a very complex definition in the back. And the thing for all of you right now that work as analysts is, please, if you're working with KPIs, somewhere, make sure to document really well all of the exceptions / norms, etc. Everything that you took into account to make sure that the next person can replicate exactly the same value as you do. Happens quite often that somebody takes some of these decisions of, I excluded this client because of whatever reason, and then nobody can replicate what they did. And the third and final thing that you should know about KPIs is that they're double-edged swords. So in other words, following them blindly can be super dangerous. There is this beautiful phrase that I heard the other day in a book that is, people can sabotage a business to maximize a KPI. And let me give you some interesting examples. What happens if you have a company that sells, let's say, cars or phone contracts, and you give every salesperson a target based on the amount of contracts or cars they sell? That's kind of giving them an incentive to sell only the cheapest possible. And maybe by increasing the amount of sales, they are sabotaging the profit margins of the company. Another example is, okay, what happens if we fully optimize on profit? Well, I've seen companies that fully optimize for profit, and it's also not that fun. They take decisions as breaks cannot be longer than this, you cannot use more than this amount of toilet paper, and that's exaggerating. But the point is, by trying to squeeze profit, it becomes a nightmare of a workspace, and a lot of people just leave. So ultimately, for trying to optimize profit, you lost the big picture and something bad happened. There is this even anecdote. A long time ago, there was a king, I believe in China, who said, everybody who brings me a dead rat, because back then they had a rat plague according to the story, I'm gonna pay them whatever amount. Well, the story goes that some people were smart enough and they decided to, creating rat farms to just raise as many rats as possible and bring them to the king, and that's how they were becoming rich. So just because you want to measure how many rats you're exterminating, you don't want to, give your employees that opportunity. So KPIs, amazing tool. I'm definitely not against them. But if you use them in your organization, please be aware of those three things. One, that it's impossible to fully capture what you're trying to capture. Two, that they have a lot of hidden complexity and they should be very well documented. And finally, that they're double-edged swords, so don't follow them blindly. Just use them as vague guidelines to see if things are going well. And as always, thanks for watching.